I have made lots of videos showing how the world is run by Freemasons and how every country is run by Freemasons. Now I'm going to show more evidence of this. So we're looking at the celebration of the 300 years of Freemasonry, which was celebrated in 2017. So the first Masonic lodge was in England and it opened in 1717, and so on October the 31st, Halloween, so look at the date, on October the 31st, October 2017, they celebrated the 300-year anniversary of Freemasonry in the Royal Albert Hall. And Freemasonry goes way back before that time, before 1717, when it was officially created. And it soon spread across the world. And we're going to have a look at the countries invited to this ceremony at the Albert Hall. So let's have a look, and I'm going to give some kind of commentary about it.
Over the four quarters of the globe, it cannot be denied that we have many members who have travelled a great distance from east and west to be here today. As well as our own brethren from our overseas districts, we warmly welcome our home Grand Lodge.
Freemasonry is across the whole world. So the sun never sets on the Masonic Empire. So even countries which are so-called enemies have Freemasonic lodges in them.
The United Grand Lodge of England is delighted to welcome to the Royal Albert Hall today the most worshipful Grand Master and brethren from the following Grand Lodges. The Grand Lodge of New Zealand, the Grand Lodge of Tasmania.
So you see that Australia is still a colony of the British Empire, and it was the British that brought Freemasonry into Australia, and it's still run by the Central Lodge in the UK.
The Grand Lodge of Western Australia, the United Grand Lodge of New South Wales, the Grand Lodge of the Philippines.
So Philippines, as you see, they are all countries run by Freemasons.
The Grand Lodge of India.
India never became independent from the British Masonic Empire, and you can see this here. So India has a Grand Lodge, and it's true that their politicians are elected, and people like the Mittals, so the richest family in India called the Mittals, actually work for the British and for Freemasonry, and they are just puppets. And Tony Blair tried to get them a visa in Romania, so they're like crooks, but they work for the British Empire. And then you see them in these magazines that say they're the richest people in the world when they're not. They're just minions of the Masonic Empire.
The Grand Lodge of Russia.
So there you go, Russia again. Freemasonry during the Russian Revolution, it was all planned in England. Trotsky, Stalin and Lenin all met in London before the revolution, all financed by the Rothschilds and Freemasonry.
The Grand Lodge of Mauritius, the Grand Lodge of the State of Israel.
So Israel, the most important Masonic state, because they worship the Temple of Solomon, and it's obvious that one day the Temple of Solomon will be rebuilt.
The Grand Lodge of Armenia, the Grand Lodge of Greece, the Grand Lodge of Denmark, the regular Grand Lodge of Serbia, the regular Grand Lodge of Italy, the National Grand Lodge of Poland.
So every country,
the Grand Lodge of Congo,
has a Masonic lodge. Africa, again, still run by the Masonic Empire. And when the British Empire and the French Empire conquered Africa, they always knew that they couldn't hold these places like India and Africa because there was too many too few of them to control the country. So eventually they knew they would have to train people from those countries to take the power positions, and that's why they have these Masonic lodges in Africa, and it's still run by Freemasonry and by the City of London. Still, all of it is still run by that system.
The Grand Lodge of Moldova. The Grand Lodge Alpina of Switzerland. The Sovereign Grand Lodge of Malta.
Switzerland and Malta, Knights of Malta. Switzerland, another tax haven, which is a centre of Freemasonry and which spread lots of ideas like Protestantism during the Reformation.
The Grand Lodge of Slovenia. The Grand Lodge of South Africa. The Grand Lodge of Luxembourg. The Grand Lodge of Cameroon. The Grand Lodge of Lithuania. The Grand Lodge of Gabon. The Grand Lodge of Macedonia. The Regular Grand Lodge of Belgium. The Grand Lodge of Nigeria.
So in Nigeria you have BP, owned by Britain and the Crown. So all their politicians, they're all puppets, as you can see here.
The Grand Lodge of Croatia. The Grand Lodge of Latvia. The Grand Lodge of Scotland. The Grand Lodge of Iceland. The Grand Lodge of Quebec.
So now we go on to Canada. Before you had Scotland. Scotland, one of the main centres of Freemasonry. You have Canada, which is just still part of the British Empire.
The Grand Lodge of British Columbia and Yukon. The Grand Lodge of Alaska. The Grand Lodge of Nova Scotia. The Grand Lodge of Minnesota. The Grand Lodge of Canada, Ontario. The Grand Lodge of Oregon. The Grand Lodge of Louisiana.
So you have the United States, a Masonic country, which was created with people like George Washington, who was a high-level Freemason. And the British could have killed him many times, but they didn't because it was all planned. And so the American rebellion against the British was all planned, and it's a complete lie. So you had Freemasonry declare America independent, and in the South America you had Simon Bolivar, who was also a Freemason from a Spanish family. He was initiated in a lodge in Cadiz, Spain, and he was the one that took South America and made it independent in South America. They were all Freemasons, all had connections to the Grand Lodge of the UK.
The Grand Lodge of Maine. The Grand Lodge of Wyoming. The Prince Hall Grand Lodge of California. The Grand Lodge of South Dakota. The Grand Lodge of Wisconsin. The Grand Lodge of New Mexico. The Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Ontario. The Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Wisconsin. The Grand Lodge of Vermont. The Grand Lodge of Kansas. The Grand Lodge of North Carolina. The Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Nevada. The Grand Lodge of Connecticut. The Prince Hall Grand Lodge of New York. The Grand Lodge of Indiana. The Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania.
So you can see how involved America is in Freemasonry. It's full of Masonic lodges.
The Prince Hall Grand Lodge of New Jersey. The Grand Lodge of Arizona. The Grand Lodge of the District of Columbia. The Grand Lodge of Cuba.
Grand Lodge of Cuba. Shows you that Cuba, Fidel Castro, communism, they're all part of the same the same team. So some people say that Fidel Castro was actually an actor.
The Grand Lodge of Prince Edward Island. The Grand Orient of Haiti, 1824. The Grand Lodge of Washington. The Grand Lodge of the State of Vera Cruz. The Grand Lodge of the Republic of Venezuela. The Grand Lodge of Ecuador. The Occidental Grand Lodge of Colombia at Cali. The Grand Lodge of Peru.
So you see all the South American countries have all got Masonic lodges. Simon Bolivar was a Freemason. He was one of the main people, like George Washington, who made South America independent. And you can see that all these countries, they all have their origins in Freemasonry.
The Grand Orient of Brazil. The Grand Lodge of Colombia at Bogota. The Grand Lodge of Bolivia. The Grand Lodge of the State of Espiritu Santo. The Symbolic Grand Lodge of Paraguay. The Grand Lodge of the State of Sao Paulo.
This is why you have Masonic obelisks all over the world and Masonic temples all over the world.
The Grand Lodge of Chile. The Grand Lodge of the State of Mato Grosso do Sul. The Grand Lodge of the State of Rio Grande do Sul. The Grand Lodge of Uruguay. The United Grand Lodge of Victoria. The United Grand Lodge of Queensland. The Grand Lodge of Japan. The Grand Lodge of China.
There you go. The Grand Lodge of China. Shows you that China is controlled. Bank of China is within the city of London. So China is nothing more than a puppet Masonic state. And so if they do go to this Third World War, it will be all controlled, as I've said all along. And that's why in these TV stations you have the all-seeing eye on all channels all around the world. On all different types of TV stations, you always have the Masonic control. So
the Grand Lodge of Turkey.
Turkey, another, they're all Kemal Ataturk. He was the first leader of modern Turkey. He was a Freemason. So what I hope to show in this is how Freemasonry rules the world, and this proves it. And these were just some of the lodges that attended the celebration of Freemasonry's 300th year old anniversary. Thank you.